What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Rock of Truth podcast. But first, before we get into it, I want to give a quick shout out from our presenting sponsor, Danco Transmission and Auto Care. Spring is around the corner and summertime trips too. Get your car ready to go at Danco's awesome service. At Danco, they'll shoot you straight and let you know what's important to fix and what you can hold off on and a plan for later. Save 10% when you mention Rock of Truth. Tell them Statty sent you. Speaking of Danco Transmission and Auto Care, just want a quick shout out to Danco Joe. Hooked it up, sent me some merch. I'm rocking the hat. Fits great, looks great. So, no, just great sponsor.
The thing looks sharp.
How was your guys' week?
It's good, dude. Nothing too exciting going on. Just been looking forward to this. Chopping it up with the boys.
Yeah, it's kind of flown by. I feel like it got Thursday pretty quick. Been a great one though. How about you, Joe?
Hey, mine's been pretty good. I'm fired up to talk. I think we've had a week to get over the Bengals defeat, so we can at least jump in and talk a little Bearcats in the Super Bowl. I think I'm good to do that. I've actually really enjoyed over the last week listening to the Kelce brothers podcast. They had their mom and their dad on, and it was just a really funny exchange and interaction. I mean, I don't know if you guys listen to them very often. I know Chad does. I mean, they're just phenomenal to listen to. They just have great stories. I think when you're a great storyteller, oftentimes that makes a great podcast. But they're both funny too. They've got great personalities. They just represent the university really well. I didn't like Travis 2 Sundays ago, but I've came around to liking him again. So it's hard not to like the guy. But what do you guys think? What are you guys thinking? What are your thoughts heading into the Super Bowl here? We got some Bearcats playing, representing us. What does that kind of mean for our university?
I think it's huge. And I think even before, obviously, it's worked out great that they're in the Super Bowl. But I think the Kelce brothers have kind of been our best ambassadors for UC and UC football. I mean, it's something that they've never shied away from. They show their love to UC, especially Travis. And he's always rocking like the dopest UC vintage gear, which is super cool. And, you know, they give UC its flowers, right? They talked about it all week. I don't know who's asking them the questions and setting it up or if they're just kind of naturally talking about it, but they've been hyping up UC, what it meant to go there, kind of how it was like I think Jason Kelce used the word like a transformative experience, just kind of, you know, that's what college is, right? For everybody, just growing and figuring out who you are and stuff. And obviously it left a huge impact on both of them.
I believe John Cunningham told us last night on the BCJ pod. If you haven't listened, go check that out. That Zach Stipe, the sports information director, was in Arizona for media day.
Okay.
Firing some questions, some UC questions at him.
That makes sense.
That's smart.
Awesome. It's a great pub. Mm-hmm. And they're very well spoken. Obviously their podcast is incredible. They're great personality. But you know, they really hype up UC, which is great. And it helps that they're the two best players, you know, other than obviously everybody's talking about the quarterbacks, Mahomes and Hurts and everything, but they're two of the most important players in this game. It's not like they're just two guys that are out there, right? They're both stars.
Yeah. When they announce starting lineups, do you think they're both going to say like UC, or do they not do that for the Super Bowl?
Jason does, but Travis has always said
Cleveland Heights High School.
Cleveland Heights, which he's proud of where he comes from. I have no problem with that. People get so up in arms.
Some people hate it. It's funny.
I don't get it. Like, he wears UC everywhere he goes. Like, he goes to the Cotton Bowl. He's decked out in UC gear. He brings Patrick Mahomes with him to the game. Like, the Bearcats play on the road anywhere near Kansas City. You'll find him there at courtside at a basketball game wearing Bearcat gear. Like, the guy loves the Bearcats. He's always like, when he scores a touchdown every once in a while, he does the UC. Like, I don't know what there's to be mad about. The guy is a great ambassador for our university and our program. It's silly to get upset about him saying Cleveland Heights on the Sunday Night Football intro, but I need to get that off my chest, to be honest.
No, you're right.
It's big of you.
People, it doesn't make any sense because it'd be different if he just never talked about it, but it feels like they both, especially Travis, just go out of their way to kind of hype up UC and how much they love it and how great of an experience they had. So, I mean, it's awesome. And then can't forget too, B Cook, man, who's kind of had a little bit of an up and down year, but has been playing a lot lately, and they use him a lot. And look for number 6 out there. I expect him to be making some plays, whether it's special teams or they're using him a lot in defense on the defensive side as well.
Joe, you said all of that without even mentioning the fact that Travis Kelce made a giant donation to the school just several weeks ago for the University of Cincinnati hospital and all what they have going on over there. So I think it ended up being like $8 million or something outlandish that he donated. So
they're both class acts. I enjoy listening to them talk about bagel bites with their dad. Their dad was telling them.
The
Did
nutrition.
you see that segment? He was talking about what you got to feed a kid to make him a professional athlete, and he said vegetables, and they both were like, the only thing we ate was bagel bites and oven baked pizzas, and so that was funny too.
Daddy, you love bagel bites.
No. More
Pizza rolls guy.
For sure, dude. When I was little, I couldn't figure them out. And I would always just have the bagel bites would hurt my mouth. It would be really either I didn't cook them all the way through or cooked them too long, and the edges, dude, I didn't fuck with them. Yeah, I couldn't figure them out.
Were you put in the oven or you toaster oven? Did you used to have a toaster oven? Did you guys used to have that? Kind of like the OG.
I haven't had a toaster oven until 3 years ago. So no.
It's kind of like the OG air fryer. We used to have one. My mom would throw shit in there. It was always busting.
Dude, it's sick. It is like the OG air fryer. Might be better than the air fryer, but
that's a discussion for
now.
Another day.
Let's transition. Let's transition into Bearcat basketball here for a second. I know the other night we had another tough loss against Tulane. Feels like we just can't get a big win to save our lives. Feels like we're right there, like we're close. I think a lot of people are a little bit more upset. Maybe that's just the Twitter people. Sometimes I think I spend too much time on Twitter, but that might be more of just the Twitter people being upset. But it seemed like there was a good amount of Bearcat fans on Twitter upset about the loss. Did either of you pay attention to that game or watch what was happening in the midst of that game?
Wasn't watching it live, but I was following along, just keeping up with the score, checking the app and things like that. But I wasn't watching it live. No.
What happened?
Your best perimeter defender goes down. I believe tonight on the Wes Miller show at Montgomery Inn. Rob Finney, he's out for the season, broken tibia.
He came back and got hurt again. Oh, he broke his tibia.
Yeah. The guy, he gets hurt a lot. I feel bad for him.
Torn patella tendon.
Okay. The guy.
Joe, that's overplayed. He played 25 plus games a year, all 4 years at Indiana. Yeah. This is not some dude that missed, 20 games a year through his 4-year career. He has not had anything like this.
He's also a tremendous defender.
Tremendous.
He's a big loss. I don't think people. I know he can't score very well, but you need perimeter defense to be an NCAA tournament team.
Somebody to guard Jalen Clark would have been nice.
Yes.
For a few extra minutes down the stretch on Tuesday.
They didn't just recruit Rob Finney to fill a roster spot. They recruited him because they thought he could help them win more games. And he would have if he would have been healthy the whole year. And it stinks for the kid because according to every coach he's ever played for, it says he's one of the best kids they've ever coached. Even the Indiana, I might be wrong. The Indiana staff seemed to love him. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, they loved him. Mike Roberts was on the Indiana staff.
Yeah.
And Mike Roberts was adamant about how much he could help this team, not only on the floor, but in the locker room.
Yeah. And then Victor, that's huge. He's been a monster for us. He's been awesome. So when he goes out with an ankle injury early in the game and you don't have him and people are, obviously there's no rim protector. That's a big problem. We've talked about this on the show. I know Chad and them talk about it constantly. You need, that's the biggest concern in the portal this year is getting rim protection. So Like Tulane was smart enough to realize the one rim protector we have is out of the game. We're going to attack and we're going to make them pay. And they did. And you lose a game. But people, in my opinion, people are overreacting. I thought all along we were going to have to win the conference tournament to make it to March anyway. So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I just felt like this team's going to have to win the conference tournament, and people need to stick with them, keep cheering for them. There's no reason to freak out. It takes time. It's going to take time.
Joe.
It's not. Yeah.
So you bring up 2 defenders, and again, I wasn't watching live, but I checked the box score after the game. What alarms me is the fact that we had 15 more shots than them. We shot a total of 83 shots, and 48 of them were threes. So, like, you want to talk about losing defenders, I get it, but we're giving 15 extra shots. Like, we can't make a couple more of those count.
Listen,
Without Vic,
I'm not. I would say this. I
mean, we shot 37%.
I agree. I think shot selection at times can be a little bit off, but at the same time, like what Chad's saying is like Vic is really our only interior scoring threat. And the same way on the defensive end towards the offensive end, if you can't play inside out basketball, it makes it really, really difficult to play offense. And so I think that sometimes plays into why they settle for more threes is because they're guard heavy when they're on the floor without Vic. And they don't really have a great post presence. Odie's been great, but I don't know if I love throwing the ball into Odie with his back turned to the hoop and being like, Odie's going to work. Like, he's just not there yet.
Tulane scored 73 points in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Defense.
Yeah,
Mick Cronin would have had an aneurysm.
It was a track meet down there.
They didn't have anybody that could keep them out of the lane. Like that's one thing. Tulane is excellent at playing downhill, and then they back cut you to death when you start overplaying to stop their penetration. So they get a lot of easy baskets, and then they've got one of the 3 or 4 best passing big men in the country. That kind of makes you pay from the mid post. So it's really hard to even like the notion of even trying to zone them is a disaster because they're just going to get it to him in the mid post and pick you apart. So, but 73 points in 25 minutes, like that's hard to fathom. As Dave said last night, we had a very spirited debate on the BCJ podcast. They scored almost 3 points a minute. That's and Cincinnati like hung with them. Cincinnati scored. Like everybody wants to talk offense in the second half. Joe, they scored 55 points in the second half.
Right.
Or UC scored 57 points in 25 minutes. And 46 points in the second half, 11 points in overtime. And the offense was there. The defense
it was a defensive issue.
Yeah, I mean, you got a guy that drops 27 without hitting a 3.
Oh, what they had one guy had a career high in points, one guy had a career high in rebounds, one guy had a career high in assists.
Yeah,
3 players have career nights. That's what it took to beat Cincinnati in overtime. Without their 2 best defenders, and you could argue Vic's their most important offensive player for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Maybe not their best offensive player, but their most important because it gives them an inside to the perimeter stuff that the other guys are good at. But like Joe, you'll attest to this. And I asked Mo this today. What is David DeJulius's signature move? What does he rely on?
His mid-range.
His step back
3?
Yeah, his mid-range step back, yeah.
What's Landers Nolly's go-to move?
Step back.
No, pump fake. Catch, pump fake, 1 or 2 dribbles, relocate. Neither of those guys play downhill. It's just not. They're sideways guys. They're guys that play beyond the 3-point line. Like to put them in a situation where And that's why this team struggles late in games. They don't have downhill players.
And that's why they
downhill,
recruited
get fouled, get to the line. Right. That's why they recruited Day and Jizzle.
Yep, because you got two guys now coming in who can get downhill. I mean, my big thing is just I think fans can't panic. Like
they are.
You can't. I know, but you can't panic until midway through next year in the Big 12. That's the first time I think we should be able to like say, all right, if you really have a problem with Coach Miller, go ahead and say it. But you can't do it yet because it's too hard to rebuild something in the American Athletic Conference. It's not some easy rebuild, and it's going to take time. That's my thing.
Do we still have Brandon dudes on the roster next year? Or are they gone after this year?
It depends.
Like maybe one?
Victor. Now, Victor's a Brandon guy. And Victor, we want Victor back. So some of these guys aren't terrible, right? And
I'm not huge on Victor, but for what we have, he's got to play.
I'm a huge fan of Victor.
Wait. You're not huge on Victor?
No. I'm not crazy.
What is there not to like about Victor Locken?
I don't know. He just doesn't get me.
Decided you didn't like him?
Yeah, he just doesn't give me like, okay, that's a he just doesn't give me that dominant big man type feel. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't watch the games though, so I'm just saying.
You gotta, Brent, Chad, you gotta take it with a grain of salt here.
Never mind.
Saying from what I see and have seen as a human, he's just not a very intimidating, what I would say, big man figure. That's all.
Hot takes only. All right, so Joe,
let
me run this by you real quick.
Mm-hmm.
There's 6 games left in the season. Home against South Florida, at Eastern Carolina, at UCF, home against Temple, at Memphis, home against SMU. What do you think they finish those 6 games?
I think they should. I mean, it depends on if Victor's healthy, they should finish 5-1. They'll lose one of those games. I mean, they're just not, in my opinion, they're not talented enough yet for me to guarantee 6-0 to finish the year. They'll lose to either Memphis or Temple.
Not worried about UCF.
I'm not as worried about UCF, but they could lose UCF. UCF's not bad.
UCF's not great right now. What's going on?
They've never been good, besides when they had Taco Fall.
All right.
So there's,
but I don't get you. But we'll see. I think 5-1 would be a good finish. Then you see what you can do in the conference tournament.
Yeah, they're right in the middle of the pack right now. 7-5 in the conference, 16-9 overall. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, like you said, they need to get hot at the right time, and stay healthy. Obviously, Victor going down is huge, so if they can get him back, and
they were getting hot at the right time. They just didn't get hot. They lost. And
real quick, transition. I know we just transitioned to basketball, but back to football for a second for you two. I know we've been discussing this week a little bit on potentially Sauce winning Defensive Rookie of the Year, and then also I know there's been some comments about Des Ridder and his future as a Falcon. And I just kind of want to touch on a little bit of that, see where your guys' minds are at. I know Arthur Blank, who's the owner of the Falcons, I'll read off a little bit of what he said here, and then we'll see what you both think. But he said, I think that from the time that we drafted Dez, he stepped up in training camp. Obviously, he's a natural leader. He created a good bond with all the rookies, and he's learned a lot from Marcus Mariota during that period of time. He was a good student of the game, a student of what Marcus did well. He was working closely with Charles London, who was the former quarterback coach, and others that we have on staff. I think come December, the coach had to make a decision based on performance, and he felt that Desmond deserved the opportunity. And then he went on to say, I love our young quarterback. I know he only played 4 games, but the trend line during those 4 games was all good. He didn't throw the ball to the other team, which is a huge factor in winning games. And then he went on to say a few more things. So he was talking about just feeling good about where they are, and he thinks fans should feel the same way. What are your guys' thoughts on those comments by Arthur Blank? And do you see a future for a long time with Dez in Atlanta?
Soppy, you can go. I'm going to let you go second because you shared the room with the guy. But I'd say just as a Des Ridder fan, I'm not shocked by his success this year. I was excited. I know we were pulling for him a little bit earlier to play, but I love those comments. And I mean, the dude is a winner. He's always won, right? And he's got the most wins at UC in history. That's a huge deal, a record that stood for a couple years, right? And now he's going and making that impact in the NFL. From knowing Des personally, I think it's awesome. I mean, the guy is just an awesome human, just a really cool dude, and it's awesome. I think it's huge for him. I don't know if I could put a 10-year Falcon career on it yet for you, Joe Matt, but I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think just, all of us knowing Des personally and Statty being in the locker room with him, we obviously know that he's got this very unique, just like authentic leadership, just God-given leadership abilities. And obviously as you mature, you kind of mature in that role, but that's something that has always really come natural to him. And I think that's something that the Falcons, if you read articles, they mention that early, even the guys on the team, that he's this great leader. And that's something that we've known, but he's come in and he showed those leadership capabilities and probably won the locker room over pretty quick, which again doesn't surprise me. And I think what was huge for him is that he was able to get those 4 starts at the end of the year, so they could see what they had in him, right? And then the Falcons had a rough year, and they're in position to take a quarterback if they want to in a pretty deep quarterback class. So those 4 games were crucial for him, and he didn't necessarily set the world on fire, but again, he didn't turn the ball over. He went 2-2, so he won a couple of games. He played well. Their offense, I watched it a lot this year. It's not really an offense where somebody's going to go in and put up, Mahomes like numbers. It's very run heavy. It's very play action. They don't really throw the ball down the field all that much. It's getting the ball out quick. So it's really, you look at the numbers just kind of on a sheet of paper and you're like, okay, he played all right, but you could see he was getting more comfortable as it went. Again, didn't turn the ball over, which is huge, and made plays when there was plays to be made. So I think he played well enough to keep himself around for another year. Again, they might go out and sign somebody or draft somebody. They're in a position to do so, but I think he's sitting in a pretty good spot. And it's obviously huge that the owner has your back, and he's not going to go in there and shit on Dez or anything like that to the media, but he clearly he's backing Dez up and is a big fan of him. So that's huge for Dez's sake.
Yeah. I mean, every week you could feel the momentum kind of continuing to build. Like even nationally, they kept talking about, Falcons always being a tough out and should go in and getting a dub against Tom Brady. How about that, Jake? Were you upset?
No, dude, I wasn't upset. I was happy for Dez. Tom didn't really play majority of that game just because they were already kind of clinched in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That kind of stinks that, I don't think Dez, if he said he went out and outdueled Tom Brady, I think he'd be lying because Tom didn't play the entire game. But that's pretty cool that, in his rookie year, I mean, that was Tom Brady's last regular season game. Second to last game ever, right?
Crazy.
And, technically, if you look at the stats, Dez beat him. So that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Now,
so I'm happy for him. And, hopefully he has a great offseason and he goes in as QB1 and lights it up. But
now what about Sauce? Do we think Sauce is going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, it's going on right now. They're about to announce it in about 30 seconds. I actually got it pulled up so I can report this live on the pod.
Wow.
Let's do it live. It would be kind of shocking if he didn't win it, correct?
Correct.
Who else is?
Can you hear this?
Dax Hill might win it, Statty.
No.
It
was a joke, Statty.
Don't play the audio. We'll get dinged for it.
Oh, sorry.
It wasn't working. It wasn't working anyways, Jake.
Wasn't it? It wasn't?
No, I couldn't hear it.
Are they about to announce this thing?
He just won it.
Sauce won.
That's awesome.
Congrats. Hey, the Rock of Truth reporting live that Sauce Gardner just won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Congrats to Sauce, right? You guys have any thoughts on Sauce? I mean, I got nothing really to say. I think I kind of could have guessed that Sauce would have won this award. It's a huge award. It's huge for our university, but ultimately, awesome work by Sauce. What do you two think?
He's up there right now giving a speech. I bet it's a hell of a speech. I can't wait to watch it back when we're off here. But it's, again, he's another dude that I was saying, like, I was telling people that guy's a freak. Like, he's going to come in and be
real
and like an all-pro guy right away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously who knows? I was telling people he's going to be a Pro Bowler. Like, he's going to be that good. He is that good. And I mean, he exceeded the expectations. He could be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, honestly.
I think he's the best corner in the league right now.
I think he is the best corner in the league.
He's a rookie. He's a rookie, so they won't give him that yet. But I think after next year, I think he's DB1 for sure.
It's crazy, dude. Remember he just came in, and I remember at Higher Ground, like, you know, the freshman, and he's just this super skinny, lanky, goofy ass, like, was just rapping all the time, awful rapper.
Yes,
just
awful.
make fun of him, dog him, just telling me he looked like Mr. Cinnamon, the cinnamon stick from the Apple Jacks commercial.
Cinnamon. Yeah, that's a cinnamon.
Yeah, and then he just like started making plays at Higher Ground, started getting more reps, and then, you know, by towards the end of the year, he's starting for us and made that huge play against UCF and everything. Like, watch that kid grow. By the time last year, it was just like, okay, nobody's even going to
like
on that side of the field.
He's also always just grading out like top 90 percentile. Like
those long arms, dude. He could just suffocates people on the line.
Yeah,
and he's got the makeup speed and
his feet. Yep,
the kid's a freak. Absolute freak. Yes. That's what they used to roast him.
Yep.
He does too. So goofy. And now he's the defensive rookie of the year. And he is what? Was he an all-pro? I mean, that.
Well, dude, what's this? Doesn't he have like he's going to have something at the Super Bowl at halftime, I think.
Yeah, and he's got great commercial deals with B-Dubs.
He's the first rookie defensive back to earn all-pro, first-team all-pro honors since, anybody want to guess?
Darrelle Revis.
No, Darrelle Revis.
Drake Kirkpatrick.
No. Wait, can I put in a real guess? What era are we talking?
Yeah, what
like
what year?
A long time ago.
A long time ago.
I don't know.
Do we even know?
Matt, how old are you?
25.
I'm gonna go with Ronnie Lott. Is it really Ronnie Lott?
43 years. First rookie to win or be named an all-pro. First rookie DB since Ronnie Lott, like 43 years ago.
Stat, you don't even know who Ronnie Lott is.
No. That is a hell of a guess, Soppy.
Nice.
If you would have told me, knowing your ages, I would have guessed 20 guesses. We'd have had to play 20 questions in my mind for one of you to get there.
Ronnie Lott's not even on the top 100.
I'm a football historian. I will tell you what.
Statty, go watch some Ronnie Lott tapes. That was a bad motherfucker.
Who did he play
Ronnie
for?
Lott was the 49ers. He was like the enforcer for Joe Montana's defense.
What happened to his finger? He lost his finger?
Like the top of it got chopped off, like got caught in a face mask or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just taped it up and played.
Nice.
Like it was like, you want to go to the hospital? No. I got somebody to hit. Ronnie Lott was a bad dude. Hall of Famer, like bad dude. But that's the last time a DB has been a rookie first team all-pro.
Till now, baby.
It's what he's doing is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, you essentially have the best center, the best tight end, and the best cornerback in football are Bearcats.
An incredible year, right, for Bearcats in the NFL. I mean, the guys that we've put in the league.
I give it 2 years, Derek Forrest will be the best safety in the NFL.
He had a great year.
I mean, he tracked his statistically, PFF, or like analytically, he was a top 5 safety all year.
Really?
Crazy. Crazy.
That is crazy.
So obviously, we have a little bit of a shorter episode tonight, but our last topic of conversation here revolves around the recent news surrounding the Pac-12, the Big 12. We'll get some thoughts. We'll just talk to our fans real quick about what's going on. But basically, the Pac-12 still doesn't have a new TV deal in place, right? A few months ago, the Big 12 got theirs in place. Brett Yormark, the new president of the Big 12, did a tremendous job putting together all of that. He's done a tremendous job so far. Basically, the Pac-12 seems to be a dumpster fire right now. Even Stuart Mandel, who's a big-time Pac-12 lover for those Bearcat Twitter people out there, he's even starting to come to the conclusion that the Pac-12 is in trouble. And from what we're hearing, and I'm not going to break any news because I don't know any news, but from some of the people on, the Twitter people who are talking and some people from different schools who are, Jason Shear of Arizona and people like that are saying that there's a lot of Pac-12 fan bases who are upset, who potentially want to move. The Pac-12 commissioner was seen with the SMU president the other day at a basketball game. That got the Pac-12 fans even more fired up because they don't want to share a conference with SMU. And do we really blame them? No, we don't. So, there's a lot going on right now. It seems that this might be the chance for the Big 12 to make a move. They just announced like a couple hours ago that Texas and Oklahoma will leave and join the SEC on July 1st of 2024. And that is big news because just a few days ago, we were hearing reports all around the country that wasn't going to happen. So something has happened in the last few days and hours that has created all of this craziness going on. And I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on all this, but I thought as Bearcat fans, we better talk about it because we're joining, the Power Five. We're now Power Five people, maybe Power Four, because the Pac-12 is not looking too good.
It would be incredible if we could pull some major players from the Pac-12, whether it's the ASU, Arizona. They got down football programs, but obviously Arizona's a great basketball school. And then Oregon, you can get Oregon State, Arizona State. Washington's been great. I feel like who knows in the NCAA's climate these days what the hell's going to happen. I mean, who would have thought in a million years that UCLA and USC were going to be in the Big Ten?
Yeah.
I mean, I never in a million years it still doesn't make any sense to me. So I feel like at this point anything can happen.
But I think that USC and UCLA saw the writing on the wall. There are a lot of Pac-12 teams and universities that seem to just not give a crap about sports. I mean, the Stanfords and the Cals of the world, they don't fill up stadiums. They don't get too excited about sports. The climate, who makes all the money? I mean, look at the schools that make the most money. It's schools in, the middle of Mississippi or Tuscaloosa, Alabama, right? Columbus, Ohio. People in universities and schools that care deeply about their sports, their teams. There's a lot of teams in the Pac-12 that don't, and I think there's a lot of teams that do, and it's not going to work, I don't think, in the long run. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that, but I would go after, obviously, Oregon, Washington, I mean, Utah, Colorado, the Arizona schools. I mean, those are the six that I think could potentially add value, that would add value ultimately to the Big 12.
Yeah. And I understand it's all about money and TV rights and everything. It's just weird to me. We grow up this is the Big Ten, this is the SEC, Pac-12, Big 12, right? When you start pulling everybody all across the country, it feels whack. It just feels bizarre. And I know it's like I was saying before, there's all these other different factors, but I mean, who gives a shit what it looks like on paper, right? You want to bring in the big players. Who's going to bring in the most money? Everything is about money. So,
I mean, the bottom line is Brett Yormark was proactive and he did not wait around. And,
Gangster.
when you're proactive, he understood this is a business and I have to try and make the most money for these schools in my conference as I can. And as a result of that, the Big 12 is now in a much better position than the Pac-12, which is good for us as Bearcat fans, because this is the first time we've ever been in this position. I mean, when we joined the Big East years ago, right, it was like we knew it was going to come to an end at some point, right? It was like fun for a few years, but there was always that cloud over top of the Big East, like this is going to come to an end because football is where the money's at, right? We are now in a conference. Now that the Pac-12 looks to be falling apart, we are going to be in a top 4 conference, right? And for the foreseeable future, at least, I mean, obviously down the line, maybe there will become 2 super conferences. Who knows, right? But we are in a much better position than a lot of schools that in the past we weren't in as good of a position as, which is, in my opinion, a huge deal. And I think it's something to be excited about.
I agree 100%.
Brent Yormark's a gangster.
He gets it done.
Ross Dellinger had my favorite tweet of the night. Ross Dellinger works for SI. He's like one of their main college football guys. Said basically Brent Yormark had 3 things on his plate that he wanted to accomplish this year. 1 was the new TV deal. 2 was Texas and Oklahoma, like handling that exit. And 3, further expansion.
He did tweet. He said, aggressively pursue, right? He's going to aggressively pursue some of these schools in the Pac-12.
Have you guys ever seen Dazed and Confused?
Yes.
Yeah. Came here to do 2 things: drink some beer and kick some ass. Like I'm almost out of beer.
That's Daddy's slogan.
Statty's never seen that movie.
Never heard of that. Never seen it.
Have any idea. Statty doesn't watch a lot of movies, dude. He don't.
Are you aware of Matthew McConaughey? Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
That's his first ever movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's where he
probably pretty good then.
All right.
Doesn't it sound like something Statty would say though? Drink beer, kick ass,
and just be dazed and confused.
Not a beer drinker.
I'm almost out of beer. Came here to do 2 things: drink some vodka and kick some ass. It's like I'm almost out of vodka.
It's a great movie, Statty. You should tune into it sometime. Classic.
I'll put it on my list of 105 movies I have to watch.
It's very, very good. Well, I mean, it's right up your alley. It's about like a bunch of kids going on their last day of their junior year, getting ready to go into their senior year. It's a bunch of the football players and hazing the 8th graders that are going to be the new freshmen and, partying and reliving old glories on the football field. And they have to sign a pledge sheet for their coaches that they're not going to drink or do drugs or whatever during the summer, that they're committed to their team, and they're on track to be the greatest football program in the history of the high school. It's classic. It's classic.
You thought I was like a bat out of hell in high school, huh?
You didn't party in high school?
I was a good kid, Chad. I was a good
kid,
young Catholic boy.
Until he got onto that campus, he stepped foot in Clifton. And
I got a little Clifton style in me, then yeah.
Clifton.
Now, before we get out of here, and Chad, you can stay on. I want everyone to go around, okay? And I know this was not pre-planned, but just select if you had to take your 4 schools that you want in the Big 12. If you got to steal 4 from the Pac-12, who are you stealing? Who are you stealing?
It's easy for me.
I'm going to go Oregon, Colorado, and I'll do Washington and Arizona.
Arizona and Arizona State aren't going anywhere without each other.
True.
Oregon is much more likely to leave Oregon State because it's Oregon State. So for me, Arizona State, Oregon, Washington. I think those are the 4 highest value that are left. Outside of Stanford, but I don't know with Stanford.
Stanford athletics is they don't.
Stanford still has the best overall top to bottom athletics program in the country.
They're
just wayward. They're wayward on football and basketball, which is a problem.
Yeah, their female athletics are nuts,
and all of their Olympic sport men athletics are nuts too. They care about athletics. They're not good in football and basketball right now.
Yeah.
I don't want any part of dealing with like the California collegiate system.
I feel like you don't think Prime carries weight for.
No, not even a little bit.
It's my
What happens if he
answer.
leaves in 2 years? Then you've taken
I
Colorado,
get that.
and now they're right back to being the worst. They were the worst Division I, like high major program in the country for like 3 years. They are awful. So if Deion goes there, leaves for Florida State in 2 years, you've just got a steaming pile of shit that you inherited.
My thing going off of Statty is obviously we know Arizona and Arizona State aren't gonna go without the other for that reason. But I do think, like, if I were to choose between Colorado and Arizona State, I would choose Colorado just because I think from a media standpoint, doesn't that pull more weight, like having another state? Because don't you want to have as many states and as many markets as you possibly can?
Yes, but I just don't know how much the state of Colorado actually gives a shit about Colorado.
Which is fair, which is also fair. But I think Oregon, Washington, and Arizona are by far the top three. And then obviously you just probably have to take Arizona State because, like you said, it's a package deal.
Here's the other thing you have to remember about Colorado. They screwed over these 8 remaining schools.
Yeah, you're right. So they want a little revenge.
They left. Like they left the Big 12 for the Pac-12. Like that these 8 remaining schools are gonna not have a warm, fuzzy feeling about Colorado when it comes to admitting them back in. And the thing with Colorado also is it's been like the belief is if you went like Arizona State, Colorado, the 4th is Utah, and you already have Utah with BYU. So you're not going to take Utah. I unless they go 4 corners, which is what the 4 corner states, which is what they call that. Like I can see them doing that. But if it's you take Oregon and Washington, if you can get Oregon and Washington, and then the next logical thing is Arizona State. Because Arizona, make no mistake, Arizona wants in the Big 12.
Yeah,
they don't want to play basketball in what's left of the Pac-12. That's a basketball school. They want in the best basketball conference in the world, so they want in the Big 12 already.
Soppy, who you want?
Should I say who do I want or who do I realistically?
I want to know who you want.
Who do you want? Let's hear who you want, man. Change it up a little bit on us.
He really
want. If I had to pick 4 that I would want, would be Oregon, Washington, Utah.
Nice.
And
Cal Berkeley.
No, Arizona State.
Ooh.
I think, like we were talking about, I think it would be Arizona State, Oregon, and Washington, but I would like to see Utah.
The one thing we all screwed up is not going to Arizona State for college.
One of my best friends from high school went there, actually.
And he had the best time he's ever had in his entire life.
Time of his life. Him and his little brother. And I actually
I've been to Tempe.
Yeah, I got a cousin who currently lives there. And then I went on a golf trip and we stopped by there, and it was like nothing I've ever seen before.
A lot of 9s and 10s. The talent at Arizona State is the elite of the elite.
That university is just wild. Like it doesn't look like a college campus. It just looks like a resort. It's absolutely bizarre. There is no school being done at that university. It's got, I think, like anybody who ever wants to get in, and they party.
You spend the best 2 years of your life there, and then they kick you out.
Yeah. Pretty wild.
The only people
I ain't come here to play school.
Right. The only people that advance at Arizona State are the female student body. Those are the people that become juniors and seniors. The males, they just recycle. They start over every freshman year.
That's awesome.
All right, fellas. Well, it's It's been good chatting tonight a little bit about Bearcat sports, what's going on all around, whether it's the NFL, conference expansion. Next week, I'm fired up. Hopefully, we'll talk a little hoops. We'll talk which Bearcat legend won the Super Bowl, and hopefully we can potentially get a guest on. But Bearcat Nation, it was awesome spending time with you guys tonight. Fellas, have a great week.
Go Cats.